Yes.
Yeah.
Because clearly everybody can hear me, but... So Harihara Mani is a product of IIT Madras and Stanford University. He has worked with Cisco Systems and Apple Incorporated and with Schlumberger, an American MNC that deals with oil field services. He now runs his own software company in the San Francisco Bay Area. Computers are his profession, but his passion is bicycling. He used to cycle every day to school from Mandaveli to Don Bosco in Egmont. He would cycle to Kodaikanal and the Nilgiris, enjoying the beautiful scenery. He once rode from Bangalore to Gudalur in support of elephant conservation. He has also cycled to the Taj Mahal in Agra from Delhi. That's another experience etched in his mind forever. Mani has taken part in several wine country tours in California. These are single-day bike rides ranging from 100 kilometers to 160 kilometers, showcasing the best of California and wine country. In 2007, he took part in a Paris event which he describes as the crowning achievement of his cycling life. Mani is the first person in India who finished this event. He is at present a mentor and coach for Asha for Education, a volunteer organization that helps with the education of underprivileged children in India. This evening, Harihara Mani will give us anecdotes, stories and photographs of his long affair with cycling. We'll get to know more about some of the world's great cycling events. Over to Mr. Mani.
Thank you.
One of the guests.
Yes.
Welcome, sir. What's his name?
Mr. Suresh.
Mr. Suresh, welcome. Happy that you are joining us for the meeting.
Thank you. Thank you.
So shall we move over there? You are going to show the PPT, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably better.
Yeah.
Otherwise you will miss.
Yeah, we'll be blocking it also.
Classes. Age catches up in many ways. The first one is this. Okay, so I'm going to start with this slide. First of all, thank you very much for having me over. Rotary Club of Madras South, sorry. And my thanks to Mr. Madhu and Mr. Rajan, who we meet quite often and we in the coffee group. Can you hear me now? Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, I will even though it's cycling and maybe Rotary is not that involved with this kind of activity here in India, there is some link to cycling from where I come from and the Rotary, which I will go through a bit later. But once again, thanks for having me over, and I will start with the theme is called Life is a Cycle. It's just a pun actually, because it is a cycle, but in this case it is also a two-wheel bicycle. And what I would like to go is, it's been my involvement with cycling has been like everybody else's from the childhood. I'm sure everybody here probably has ridden a bike, right? And maybe even continuing to do so today. But going to school, like you mentioned, and getting the hour cycle and doing the ara pedal. But those were the days. But cycling today, when you're in the adult phase, is very different from what you do when you're a kid. First of all, there is a little bit more fear factor. You're afraid of a lot of things. You're afraid of A, can I bike any distance at all? And B, can I handle the traffic, and so on and so forth. I think these are all fears which I hope I can help allay a little bit. And if one thing that comes out of this is if some non-cyclists become cyclists, and I think I call this a victory. It is definitely a good activity. It's not without its issues or problems. It's not like running where you can put on a shoe and run anywhere, but it's a different kind of activity. But there are some big pros to it and cons as well. The pros are it's a mode of commute, it's a mode of transportation, it's a mode of seeing places, and it's another activity which adds a whole new dimension to how you enjoy life, right? and you can cover long distances on a bike without any, almost no cost literally. All it is, and you immerse yourself in the surroundings a lot more than if you just drive past. If you drive past, you hardly see anything, until the next stopping point. Whereas in a bike, you can literally stop wherever you want and take pictures, and so it's a much different activity. So let me just go through with a little introduction, and then on the history of the cycling, and then I'll go through some of my experiences. I don't want to spend. I should keep a watch on time as well. Okay. So it started with these push kind of bikes, which nowadays you'll see for the kids, and they would straddle it and use their leg power to push it. The Draisine, because it was invented by this guy called Dreis, he's a German guy. Of course, these were all bone rattlers because the roads were cobblestones and the tires were not pneumatic. So, and then a few years later, 1860s, they came up with the pedal. That was the first major, addition to the bike, because it made a rotary, pun intended, motion into a linear motion, and it became very efficient at this point. But still, the pedal was directly attached to the wheel, so there was a 1:1 rotation ratio. And in order to improve the speed, the competitive guys started adding larger wheels, so they could get more circumference. But of course, it's extremely, difficult to get up to that height, and it's kind of dangerous also. So then eventually, an Englishman came up with the safety cycle with the chain. Initially, there was no free wheel on the back. It was a fixed sprocket, but eventually the free wheel came, and it evolved from there. The major invention which happened is in 1895 was the invention of the derailleur. Derailleur is the one that allows the gear to shift on the bike in the back and front. And these days bikes have about 20, they call 20 ratios, they're not 20 gears. They have about 10 sprockets. It's not gear actually, because gears mesh with each other, whereas sprockets are driven by the chain. So there's 10 sprockets at the back, usually 10, 11, and then there's 2 in the front. The derailleur helps to shift the chain. And in 1903 is when the Tour de France first adopted the derailleur bikes, and then of course it took off from there. And then it started being used in racing and things like that. The other class of bike that came up in California, which was invented, was these mountain bikes, where they have more ratios and different tires, and you can go up the hills. So that big change happened in 1970. So just going through, it's a very efficient mode of transport. Very efficient in terms of converting human energy into transportation energy. Very low impact, because there's no, unlike running, we have impact on the knees and the joints. And there's a famous quote from Steve Jobs, how he says, scientists compare different animals, and the condor came out very efficient. But the man on the bicycle could even beat the condor in terms of efficiency of energy used to transport, to distance bike. And we use kind of large muscle groups, so the aerobic efficiency and the aerobic benefit is also quite high. Just some quick statistics on the bicycle. It might be of interest. That is, it's still the biggest mode of transport in the world, even though based on the number of people, basically it's driven by India and China in the rural areas. And you can see today, this is just a view from recently. This is how people, this is the classic bike that we always remember as children, right? It's used as transport. And these are heavy, and they're only one design, and they have, even the brakes are metallic. But of course, the modern bicycles have moved a long way from them. In developed countries, I won't say all developed countries, particularly US and few places, transportation usage of bikes is very low, mostly for recreation. And I think, apart from a few countries in Europe, most places are going to be heading in that direction. There's only a few countries which have a very high per capita bike usage for non-recreational use. Netherlands, Denmark, Germany, Sweden, you can see all these countries. They're all in that one block, Scandinavian / German block. bloc, and China and India being the other two exceptions. If you look at the heat map of bicycle paths in Europe, you can see obviously why Netherlands is dominating the whole world in bike usage on a daily basis. People per capita usage in bikes, almost 2. People have 2 bikes to 1. Their biggest problem is enormous number of congestion at bike parking areas and things. But people they use the bicycle for everything. I mean, women, whole families, they transport their kids, they go, I mean, Netherlands is just a completely different chart compared to the rest of the world. And there's a lot of material on why it became so in Netherlands, because partly the country is flat, the country is small, and consciously they spent, at some point in time, they put a lot of effort into bicycle paths and priority for cycles over cars even. So to that extent that those countries have moved a long way. So even if you see here, you can see Netherlands, you can see the Netherlands, Belgium, Sweden, Norway, Germany, and then even France, which is like the main, when you think of cycling, you think of Tour de France. They don't have this kind of infrastructure that these other countries have. 36% of Dutch people, their most frequently used mode of transport is the bicycle. And so you can see it's almost touching the vehicle in that country alone. It's hard to replicate that model in most parts of the world. In India, of course, weather is a big criteria. You can't go to work on a bicycle, for instance, without sweating buckets. And I think increased sales of motorized two-wheelers will cut into this segment of transport, because it's also more efficient from business point of view for people to transport. Like the Swiggy guy, they can't be using bicycles. Right? Since it's pretty much out of question. So it probably will have a shift in India from transport to more to recreation. And that kind of shift will, of course, the middle class has already gone way ahead in that direction. But a good start will be to add more bike infra in any case for recreation. Like in Ahmedabad, we have this amazing Savarmati River project along the river. Many miles of bike paths. And also encouraging more people to use a bike even if they don't commute long distance. For the short distance, like people go to a club in the evening, they could use a bicycle instead of, plus the cops won't come here. It's an added advantage there. Don't use a car, but use a bicycle. Okay. And the pandemic has been a boon globally, especially in India. Last year, when I came to visit, I could not find a bicycle in the shops. They were all sold out. And there's been a 20% growth in all segments. The premium segment is going completely insane now. I think people are willing to put more and more dollars on bikes, partly because the recreation segment is also increasing, and a lot more people are getting into this sport. It's a sport in that sense. Benefits. It's a classic thing. If you don't pay attention to your fitness today, that's the time you're going to spend being sick tomorrow. So, trying to be active. Cycling is just one of the methods. Running, any kind of sport, like you can see on the right. Cycling, there's a ball. Movement is key. Human bodies need to move. We shouldn't be sitting too long. That's actually detrimental to our health. If simple way to do it is just have a step counter and count your steps and get your 10,000 a day, at least. Other direct benefits: increased cardiovascular fitness, muscle strength. Of course, we use the large muscle groups. Improved joint mobility, especially the legs. And also when you sit down and crouch, you get, you do develop additional strength in the back, but it takes time, right? It can completely reduce your HbA1c and cholesterol. I have got friends who had a stroke. A close friend had a stroke, but after extensive, that's when the wake-up call came, started biking a lot. Completely brought his HbA1c from 7 to 5.7, and he's zero drugs now. He used to take insulin shots, now he's completely off drugs. So cycling can help that way. It's a low impact, and the most wonderful thing is you can use it as a mode of sightseeing as well. and cross-sport benefits. More than anything else, you make friends. You can't chat and run and chat with other people, but here you can ride together in groups or in, and it forms a nice sort of a group community. But it's not all roses and peaches. If you take it to the excess level, you can have knee injuries or ITB injuries. L4, L5 injuries can be aggravated if you have back problems. Maybe I think what Sandy was suggesting is first work on that, strengthen it with, I think he was recommending kettlebells, and he said his back issues have been completely resolved by some kettlebell exercises. Again, before you do anything extensive, please consult doctor and then work with them. I mean, work with somebody who's not too conservative, otherwise they might just stop you from doing anything. These days, I mean, sometimes I think doctors also being a little bit more liberal these days. They used to clamp everything down, saying, don't exert yourself. Now they're also getting into these things, so they don't mind. I'll show that in one of the slides. I have a doctor friend who's an orthopedic surgeon. He's happily cycling around, so he's not going to tell me not to cycle.
Who is that surgeon?
His name is Ravisu. He's from the bone and joint. Okay, so cycling in Chennai, I just thought I'll briefly touch on that before I go to my stuff. So if you are not cycling and you want to get started, simple way is borrow a bike. If a friend has one, just borrow, shamelessly borrow, and compensate them some other way. Or rent a bike, local shops, or the smart bikes are getting set up everywhere. Or buy a simple gearless bike and then join a club. Club is like a Rotary club, they have bike clubs. WCCG started in 2012, over 10,400 members in their group now. It's a huge chapter, and they also have chapters. They're actually mimicking this model, and they have different chapters in different areas. And the good thing is you meet people who have been riding a lot, so you get tips and also make friends. There's another club which is, I think it's a bit older, but I'm not so familiar with Tamil Nadu Cycling Club. I've met quite a few of the WCCG groups in Besant Nagar in the coffee shops. And of course, people like our CM, even if he's riding an electric bike, it's not, I wouldn't poo-poo that, because it just gives you a little, if you have a heart condition, an electric bike can be very useful. You're not exerting as much, but at least you'll get half the exercise. If you're riding 30 kilometers, it's like a 16-kilometer ride, which is not bad at all. It's way better than zero. That's the way I look at it. And it also, for him, it's a way of getting close to the people. There's a lot of other reasons they do these things. And of course, there's another DGP who does insane riding. So he's on the other end of the spectrum. So he's an extreme rider. And even recently, there was a newspaper article where he actually went to this Chengalput station on a Sunday and used that opportunity to get his weekend ride. So he went from his, I don't know where he lives, but he went to Chengalput on his bike. This was just last week. And then, okay, so this, now I'll touch a little bit on my craziness, my bike escapades. I've been associated with this group called Team Asha in Bay Area for quite some time. And we have a program which takes people from 0 to 100 kilometer target in 10 weeks. So literally, we ramp up 10 kilometers every week. And then by the end of 10 weeks, people are amazed that they started from zero. A lot of them buy a bike for the first time, adult phase. And they end up 100 kilometers for a reference point is Adyar to